Yo, what is going on? Sorry for the little bit dirty, sloppy looking work shirt, but I'm bringing you some Diablo 2 Resurrected knowledge if you're struggling to survive and to get through hell here in Diablo 2 Resurrected. Now, a lot of people can get through normal, easy peasy, no problem. Then they get the nightmare. It's a little bit harder, but they can still struggle their way through and get through it. But then they get to hell. And boy, they are shocked because there's that huge negative resistance penalty once you get to hell. And the monsters have way more health and they deal way more damage, so it can be a little bit of a struggle. So today right here, I'm bringing you a bunch of different items that you can look for, and hopefully they're kind of cheap that you could trade for to really benefit you in hell for Diablo 2 Resurrected. If any of these tips here on items help you out, don't forget to destroy that like button. And now let's get after it. Ooh yeah. All right, so the very first kind of budget thing we're going to look at here that can help you survive is this runeward beast here. It only needs a burr. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're actually looking at the top one here, and that is Ancient's Pledge. Now, this is super mega budget. You can actually make this in normal, but maybe by the time you get to hell or whatever, you wouldn't have necessarily a better option. So you could go ahead and just stick a Ral, an Ort, and a Tal in any type of shield, the best shield you can get. And look at these resistances. 48 to all of them except for the 43 to cold, but whatever. If you stuck that in a Pally shield that had 30 or 40 to all res too, you're getting almost up to 100. You're in the 90s anyways for the all resistances on a shield. That can be amazing to help you out when you get into hell, or any time before that really, because like I said, you could even make this rune word in normal. The next one we're looking at here is one that I like using a lot because it only takes 2 runes. They're all pretty low, and you can actually get this cannot be frozen on a shield, which is awesome to get, and that is Rhyme, this one right here in the middle. It just takes a shale and an Ethrune, just 2 sockets, requires level 29, not anything crazy, but increases the block rate, increases the block chance, adds 25 to all resistance, which is pretty cool because you don't get any of that from any of the runes that are in the rune word. And you get that cannot be frozen, which is absolutely crucial to get on a character so you don't get too slowed down sometimes. And on top of that, you even get 25% better magic find, hopefully helping you out getting even better gear along the way. Now, everyone's definition of budget is going to be different, so we're moving kind of up in the lower range of the budget. But here we got a rune word for body armor that takes 2 open sockets, and that is Smoke. It takes a Neph and a Lum rune. A lot of people would consider Lum budget. Some people might not, but I kind of do. It's right at the top end of what I consider budget, I suppose. But this body armor will give you faster hit recovery here, 20% of that. But the big thing on Smoke is 50 to all resistances. Early on, resistances are going to be your biggest struggle and what's going to kill you the fastest when you get into hell. So making this Smoke rune word for your body armor can really help you out with that. All right, now we're moving even a little bit higher up on the rune word budget list. This one's almost not budget, but to some people it still will be. But it's Sanctuary right here, and it takes 2 Ko's, Ko, and Mal rune. Some people consider Mal rune because it's not even a high rune, it's a mid rune. So some people consider that budget, and we're going to include it on here mainly just to bring it to everyone's attention, because this can help you out like crazy with your resistances. In a 3 open socket shield, you get 20% faster hit recovery, 20% block rate, increased block chance, a big amount of enhanced defense, 130 to 160, 20 dexterity is also helpful, and this huge 50 to 70 to all resistances. A lot of people will make this in maybe a Grim Shield, or they'll make it in the next one up. Can't remember offhand, the brain's getting a little foggy what the next one up from that is. But a Troll's Nest, there you go. So it has a huge crazy amount of defense. Or if you're a Paladin, just imagine putting this rune word into a 40 all res base, or even a base that has anywhere close to that resistance. Adding 40 onto 70 mass skills, you got 120 all res on a shield. Imagine that roll. That's absolutely insane. You would not even need resistances anywhere else on your entire character almost if you made this in a Pally shield for that character. So don't sleep on the Coco Mall making a Sanctuary to boost up your resistances if you can. So now we'll jump into some unique items you can try to find if you get lucky, or trade for. They're generally budget, generally. And the first one I'm looking at is this one right here, String of Ears. Now, the reason that this one can help your survivability is this magic or physical damage taken reduced by 10 to 15%. It is exactly what it says. It reduces the amount of physical damage that you take, but on top of that, this is even better if it's on a melee character, because it also adds life leech, which will add to survivability for the melee characters, but even if it's on a caster and you haven't found anything better yet, that physical damage reduction can help your survivability out a lot. This next belt here that can really help out your survivability is a little less common to find. It's a little bit higher budget, I guess, but it's still kind of a budget item because a lot of people don't use it. If there's lower demand, then the price will also be lower. So that is Vardungo's Hardy Coil right here. And this one has a bunch more enhanced defense, 30 to 40 vitality. Obviously, more life is going to help out any character's survivability. It also adds to faster hit recovery, and it has the same 10 to 15% damage reduction on it. Not to mention, you also get replenished life down here, and it's based on character level, per second or whatever. But that damage reduction and all that vitality makes Verdungo's another great option to help your survivability when going into hell. Alright, now we'll move on to another one, which I guess I would consider in the semi-budget variety, and that we're looking at here is the Shaftstop. The survivability on this is pretty obvious. It's another one with that physical damage reduction, and this one actually, this body armor has 30% physical damage reduction. It's one of the highest damage reductions that you can get in the game on a single item. But on top of that, it also has this 60 to life, and it does have a bunch of defense as well. And it's just a mid-level armor. You could actually upgrade this from a mesh armor to whatever the next one is. I can't remember offhand what it is, but it has a ton of defense. It has life. It has physical damage reduction. It can really help your survivability out. We'll roll into another body armor here that can help your survivability. It's mainly used on casters, but you could use it on melee characters too, because it does help out your resistances, and that's the skin of the Viper Magi. This is what the base looks like. Once you ID it, it will turn blue, but this comes up with 20 to 35 to all resistances. That right there can help boost up your resistances, obviously, for your character, and you can see the different stuff that makes it really better for a caster. It's got cast rate and the one to all skills, which could help out any character, but don't sleep on the resistances, obviously, on the skin of the Viper Magi. Now I do want to hop to another belt here, and this one doesn't have damage reduction anywhere on it, but this can definitely help out your survivability because of this 22 lightning absorb. That will essentially nullify lightning damage that you take, not completely always, but 20% lightning absorb here on this belt will help out your survivability against any lightning attacks. If you got beetles in Act 2, like that, or any of the lightning enchanted monsters that when you hit them, lightning comes out of them, that can take people out a lot of times. Or those pesky souls that you run into when you're doing bail runs. This will help nullify that lightning damage on top of having 22 vitality, which obviously will help out your survivability, having more life. Now we're going to look at a helmet to help survive more here in Hell in Diablo 2 Resurrected, and this is mainly for melee characters, but this is another one that's the semi-budget because it can be hard to find, but it is used, but it's not used a ton. So once again, the demand isn't that high, so usually the price won't be crazy high, and that is the Vampire Gaze here. It is a Grim Helm, and you look over here, it has Life Leech on it, 6 to 8, which obviously helps survivability. It does have Mana Leech on it too, so you knock both those off. You need Mana Leech on any character that's a melee character in order to replenish your mana there, but you can see physical damage reduced by 15 to 20%. Obviously, just like the other ones that have had damage reduction, that will limit the damage and increase your survivability. Obviously, guys. So here's a sneaky one that you could find along the way. It's definitely going to be cheap if you can trade for it. The only problem trading for it is most people might not even keep it just because no one talks about the shield, but it's called the Ward. It's a Gothic shield, and you see it right here, 30 to 50% all resistance. So this is another one of those cases where if you're just struggling with the resistances, and that's the reason why you can't survive when you get into Hell, you could throw on the Ward here and get those resistances up even higher. Another budget shield here that can get you a bunch of resistances is Moser's Blessed Circle, and you can see here all resistances 25% or 25 to all resistances there. But what you don't want to overlook is it always comes with 2 open sockets. So for a very budget, you can get a bunch more resistances by just plugging in 2 perfect diamonds. They each add 19 to all resistance. Bumping that up, I'm not going to do the math now, but it adds roughly 40, so it'd be about 63, I guess it would be. Not that hard of math there. Good job, Phil. So don't sleep on the Moser's Blessed Circle as a budget option or a shield to bump up those resistances. Now another one that's kind of like borderline not budget, but we'll talk about it real quick anyways, because it is used a ton in hardcore, not so much in softcore, but helping you with survivability. If you can get your hands on one here, is the Storm Shield, and that's mainly because it has This 35%, where is it? Physical damage reduced by 35% right here. Obviously, the block rate will help you out as well, and the lightning resistance and block chance. But mainly, it is this 35 damage reduction on a shield. It is the most damage reduction you can get on a single item in D2R. So yeah, right here is one of my absolute favorites. I always want to find one of these early on, as early as I possibly can anyways, in Diablo 2 Resurrected, and that is the Wizard Spike Bone Knife right here. It has a huge, massive 75 to all resistance, and on top of that, it is actually great to use on casters because it has 50% faster cast rate, and it also has 2 to mana per character level, along with increased maximum mana. It's actually an absolutely amazing item. It is greatly made because it has all this excellent stuff on it, but it doesn't have the all skills that people really want on their characters. So it is actually a very, very good option early on, and even later it's a great option, and they're reasonably not expensive because, like I said, everybody wants to use either an Oculus on a sorceress or the Hoto on any caster really to get those all to skills, and this doesn't have it. But it's amazing for survivability because of that 75 to all resistance. So we'll look at some pretty option unique here for boots, and that is the Hotspurs. Fire res can be a really important one. Fire and lightning is generally the most important, so this Hotspurs actually has 45 to fire res, and on top of that you can get 15 to the maximum fire res, so you can get over this maximum of 75 that you can get on a resistance for fire with these Hotspurs on. But it also has a little bit of life, 15 to life, to help with more of that survivability. The next boot here we'll look at is actually Inferno Stride. It's the next version up from the last one I talked about, and this one's got 30 to fire res, also having maximum to fire res on top of that. So it's just kind of the next version up, another budget option here at the boots. The best example I can find to show you of rare boots that have resistances on them are actually some that I found on Diablo 2 Resurrected here myself. These are some pretty good ones, but they're not the absolute perfect ones. You can get ones that have cold, lightning, and fire. They call tri-res boots, but this one just has cold and lightning. It also has faster walk run. Faster walk run can actually be something that helps out your survivability, so don't forget about that. But you can also get hit recovery on boots. But this is a good budget option that maybe you could find something like this on your playthrough. Like I said, trade for the tri-res ones if you can, but they can be mighty, mighty expensive. So look at these two together, and they're actually rings now here, and they're going to be kind of in the kind of semi-budget region as well. It's hard to say if you're going to find one or not, or how much they're going to really go for, because they drop relatively commonly, but not as common as some other stuff. But they are the Dwarf Star and they are the Raven Frost, and these two help your survivability. We'll talk about the Dwarf Star first. It has 40 to life, which is obviously going to help you out, but it also has the 15 to fire absorb, and having that fire absorb will definitely help you out with any of the monsters that do different fire attacks, whether you're fighting Diablo or somebody else. Now we'll take a look at the Raven Frost here, and it has cannot be frozen. Cannot be frozen will definitely help out your survivability, making it able to not get frozen, and you'll be able to run away. There are the cold auras will still freeze you, but regular cold attacks are not going to. And the 20% to cold absorb here will obviously eliminate that cold damage there. So there's a couple rings that can actually help out your survivability. Now we'll take a look at different charms that you can get in order to help yourself. One big one here, it might not necessarily be budget. If you find any, they can be even 3 to 5 to all resistance. The lower ones are definitely budget. The maximum here of 5 is going to be a little more expensive, but look for all res small charms. But they don't even have to be all resistances. You can find ones that are like, we'll say they have 8% to lightning res. That's going to help you out. They can have up to 11 on small charms, but don't just get small charms. You can grab anything that are like large charms or grand charms here. This one has 28%. It is also very good because it has hit recovery. That's not budget to find a hit recovery one with a very high resistance on it as well. But I'm talking specifically, you can get one that you find with just resistances on it. That can mega help you out. There's also things like life charms. This one's got 16 to life with attack rating, but any of them that just have life, obviously it's going to help you survive. Or large charms, and not to mention also on the grand charms as well. Also, don't forget that hit recovery that is on like these small charms up to 5, and then there's 12 here on the grand charms. You can get 8, I believe it is, on large charms. Hit recovery can help you out a lot with survivability too, because it obviously makes you recover faster from when you get hit and take a bunch of damage, giving you a chance to run away and, of course, survive. Don't forget to throw that like button and subscribe up if you're new. Make sure you check out these videos right over next to me. YouTube algorithm, they know everything about you. They spy on you all the time, and they think that you're going to like one of these videos right up over here, so make sure you check them out. Peace out, YouTube. Hopefully I catch you next video, and don't forget, keep slaying.